You Decide 2014.
Welcome back, everybody. Ed Berliner along with J.D. Hayworth. Thanks so much for joining us. We started the night out several hours ago by saying there were going to be some surprises and there might even be some entertainment along the way. I think we've gotten to the surprise and the entertainment portion here, I guess. Earlier in the evening, the New Hampshire race was basically called by a number of the networks. Our own Dick Morris came on the air and he said, wait a minute, I'm not going to go with that just yet. I'm going to hold off. Dick Morris got this one right because Scott Brown is refusing to concede the race in New Hampshire. It doesn't make a difference what anybody is saying right now, and the Boston Globe is now reporting, and they're tweeting out Brown-Shaheen race too close to call in New Hampshire. So everybody's backing up from those early numbers right now, and it seems as if we got ourselves a little bit of a fight.
So in the battle of the prognosticators, pollster Zogby freely admits his error about Florida, and our friend Dick Morris, the political consultant, can rightfully claim that his crystal ball was not cloudy when it comes to New Hampshire.
Indeed, and Dick Morris is going to join us here momentarily. However, before we do that, it does indeed look like Republicans will extend their 80-year win streak in the Sunflower State. Miranda Kahn has got that and so much more from the newsroom.
You got it, Ed. It does look like Republicans will extend their 80-year win streak in the Sunflower State. Incumbent Senator Pat Roberts holds the lead with more than 51% of the vote, with 70% of the precincts reporting. Many project Roberts to keep that seat. The Republican is now on his way to winning a fourth term in the U.S. Senate. Independent Greg Orman was keeping the race tight with his message of voting against the status quo, but it looks like voters are choosing to stick with who they know. In the USA Today article, Roberts likened Orman to being a wolf in sheep's clothing, calling him, quote, a liberal Democrat who is using the independent label as a cover-up. And some other interesting news coming out of Kansas on election night. A federal judge overturns the state's ban on same-sex marriage, citing a violation of the Constitution's 14th Amendment. However, Kansas might appeal that ruling. So we'll have more on that. Back to you guys.
All right, Miranda, thanks so much for joining us. Now let's go ahead and spin to our chief political contributor, John Gizzi, who is live in Washington, D.C. John, an interesting evening, and I think what's really interesting is what's happening in New Hampshire right now. Certainly, Scott Brown is not ready to give up.
You know, if you stay in the same job and same line of work long enough, things happen that happened years before. I remember when all three networks projected Republican Senator Bob Smith, the loser in New Hampshire, in 1996, and he woke up a winner the next day. The same may be happening 18 years later to Scott Brown, who might be on the verge of making history. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those races that's not going to be decided tomorrow or the next day or the day after, but we'll hear about for a while. That's the New Hampshire way.
And Gizzi, as we are Brother Gizzi, I should say, I should tell those looking in that we just affectionately called you by your last name during those years when you would cover Congress and I was serving there. So no disrespect intended, Brother Gizzi, but right. What is going on in New Hampshire? Given the size of the state and given the late revelations about Jeanne Shaheen asking the IRS to get involved targeting conservative groups, do you think that helped to make the difference and make this thing as close as it is, with Scott Brown now saying, hey, let's take this thing right to the bitter end and beyond?
Well, look at it this way, J.D. When a race is that close, there can be 100 different reasons for it. Remember also, Scott Brown is a veteran who had a strong record on national security issues. This is the home state of the tragic late James Foley and his parents. And Scott Brown, when he was in the Senate, sponsored legislation to immediately rescind American citizenship from those who had joined terrorist groups such as ISIS. That really resonated with the people. As for your point about Jeanne Shaheen going to the IRS, well, remember something. New Hampshiremen, Granite Staters, the men and women of that state like their privacy and they like to be left alone. In a state where the motto is live free and die, it wouldn't surprise me if that worked to her detriment.
John, last time we checked about 60% of the vote in quickly in Iowa. Joni Ernst has now pulled out to a 4-point lead over Bruce Braley. It would seem that she is going to win that race just because it has been trending upward all night long.
It certainly is, and I would just say to people, Iowa is a state that on the presidential level has been Democratic in modern times, and Joni Ernst is an unabashed conservative, as her opponent Bruce Braley repeatedly reminded voters. But that didn't seem to keep them from liking her and apparently electing her. I might add, Iowa has never before had a woman governor, senator, or member of the House, and only one state is left that shares that distinction, and that's Mississippi.
Got a long way to go. Brother Gizzi, John, if you will. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you later, John. All right, so here we go. We're coming down to it. We're now at 11:26 Eastern Time, cutting down through a lot of these different races here. 5 of 6 for the Republicans right now with 1 to go.
And it would appear that Iowa would be that magic 6th seat, as Joni Ernst has moved into the lead over Bruce Braley.
Lots more numbers to check as we move on. Again, we'll watch out on the Iowa race. We'll also look at some of the other numbers that have gone on. Dick Morris is going to join us because, as we have pointed out, New Hampshire, that race was called several hours ago. And Dick Morris said, I'm going to wait. Turns out he had it right. You Decide 2014 will continue.
The midterms, You Decide 2014, will be back in just a moment.